As you can tell from the title, today is a little bit different than our usual garage vlog. We're going to be heading to Vegas for the Formula One Grand Prix event, and I'm really excited to capture as much as I can on video and share it with you all. So cue the travel sequence. After about a 4-hour flight, we did finally touch down in Vegas, and to our surprise, it was a little more cold and cloudy than we had expected, but warmed up as the weekend went on, so we made the most of it. As we headed over to the Venetian, you guys will see here by the pure scale of this property, it's a little overwhelming, but it is an absolutely beautiful place, and I'd encourage anyone to stay there. As you step into the lobby, you're greeted by these beautiful marble floors, and as you look up, these tall, ornate ceilings. And then around the corner, and this was for F1 week, was Alpine's 2024 F1 car. And I couldn't tell if it was driven by Ocon or Gasly, but it was really neat to have it just sitting there greeting you. We then headed up to the room, which, by the way, I had to take a video of because of how gorgeous it was. It was just kind of over the top and very Vegas. We don't usually stay in this nice of a place, but being that we're only here for a few nights, I figured why not make the most of it. Once we were situated, I did head over to the event to kind of see it before it opened to the public. It's a lot easier to kind of capture this on video without a million people in the shot. So you'll see here the entrance to the paddock where the drivers go in, and then also the paddock club just to the right of that. Now, while we were standing here, we did see some drivers arrive. So you see Lando Norris here for McLaren. And then Yuki Tsunoda for Red Bull Racing arrived next. I think a few other drivers arrived too. I didn't really capture it on video. But what was really neat was seeing the medical staff all kind of dressed matching, walking in as well for practice in the evening. Once the gates opened, I did make my way over to the viewing area right outside of turn 17, kind of at the starting line for practice. After practice, we did make our way over to the first nice meal of the trip, which was at Sinatra's. Really good Italian food, a little pricey for what it was, but really happy with the overall quality of the food. We started with a Caesar salad, which I had to capture, of course, on video. Phone eats first. And then we moved on to the main course. I got a lobster risotto, and I believe my wife got some sort of halibut or some sort of fish with asparagus, which she raved highly of. And then on our way back, we actually stumbled across this exhibit, which I'll go a little bit more in depth over. But my jaw kind of hit the floor when I started reading some of the plaques, which I'll go through a little bit more in depth here next. Okay, this first car in the collection was a Lotus 99T. And what made it extremely special was that Ayrton Senna's personal car, which he drove 7 years before the accident in Imola. And it was actually the first Lotus powered by Honda, which was incredible to actually even see in person. Next to the Lotus was something just as special. This is the Ferrari F310B, the car that Schumacher drove in 1997. It packed a high-revving 3-liter V10 with nearly 750 horsepower, a refined carbon chassis, and sharper aerodynamics. It took Schumacher to 5 wins that season and really set the foundation for the Ferrari dynasty that followed. And just to the left of his winning car were all of Michael Schumacher's race suits from 91 all the way through 2012 before his accident. You can see the transition from Benetton to his dominant Ferrari years where he won 5 straight titles, and then the silver Mercedes era to close out his career. It's a visual timeline of one of the greatest drivers in history. Every color, every sponsor change, every chapter of his journey right here in front of you. Incredible. As we were on our way to dinner the next night before the race, we stumbled across this tucked away in a corner at the Wynn. Now it did have 3 security guards around it, which I found odd, but this is Gordon Murray's S1 LM. Specifically, this is chassis number 1 of 5. And I realized that the security guards were there because the night before, this had sold at Sotheby's for $20,630,000, which actually marked the highest price of any new car ever sold at auction. And as you stare at it, it really does mimic the features of the McLaren F1 from the 90s. Now, after drooling over Gordon Murray's S1LM for quite some time, we made our way over to SW Steakhouse for dinner. Now, this place reminded us a lot of a Chicago steakhouse, and we did start off with an order of the crab cakes, which were some of the best me and my wife have ever had, so definitely recommend those. And then we moved over to a traditional cut of steak, which was a boneless ribeye, some loaded broccoli cuts, and just some really, really good mashed potatoes. And this brings us to the main event, race night. And this was an awesome spot that I was able to get here right off the grid, kind of towards the back of the starting line, really to show you everything that's going on. The first thing is the teams are given the green light to remove tire warmers and get the cars into position and ultimately start them up. Now, this first lap is referred to as a formation lap, and the purpose is to get the tires and brakes up to optimal temp before the race starts. Notice Lewis Hamilton is in 20th pole position here due to the qualifying last night being completely drenched in rain. It's the worst start of his career, but by the end of this first lap, I believe he makes it up to 13th position, so enjoy. final cars that went by were on their final lap. It was Verstappen, Norris, and Russell. And I went to bed believing this was the lineup. However, what I didn't know is that late in the evening, McLaren got disqualified due to an issue with their rear diffuser. And I think it was over a difference of being 9 millimeters too long, which obviously changed the standings. Russell moved up into second, and Antonelli moved up into third. And this really hurt McLaren for the yearly standings because it paused them, allowing Red Bull Racing to move up into third and tying the point standings. So the rest of the season should be pretty interesting.